comes from Brenda in Kaufman, Texas, who says, I've got a question that nobody seems able to answer. I've acquired several old Bibles. King James Version, of course, and that's the reason she says, of course, is because if they're old, they're King James Versions. This plethora of translations didn't come about until about 1900, and I believe the New American Standard was, or the American Standard Version, as it was called then, was 1901, and the Revised Standard Version, or the English Standard Version, the Revised Standard Version was in England, and ESV is a revision of the Revised Standard Version. That came about the same time, at the turn of the century. So before then, there was only the King James, really, by and large, in English. So she says, I've got several old Bibles. They're big, losing pages, and I would, she says, gulp, like to burn them. Everyone suggests I take them to the church and let it be someone else's problem down the road. How does one dispose of old Bibles? Thank you, Brenda. And that's a very good question. How do you dispose of an old Bible? I think that there are several questions, first of all, you want to answer concerning this. Number one, is there a family member that wants it? If a family member wants it, check around and say, hey, I've got this Bible. It was great-grandma's. It might have some sentimental value to someone, and I would like to give it to anybody who wants it. Check on that first. And see. There's a second thing you ought to ask, and that is, does it have any notes or records that someone may want? You see, oftentimes there is in some of these old family Bibles, there's a family tree that's given there. There's, even if it's not a family tree, there's just a handwritten note in there somewhere. I should have brought it in for show and tell today, a 1909 Schofield Reference Bible. I still use a Schofield Bible. It's the 1917 version, and obviously a new reprint of it. But I got one of the old 1909 original Schofield Bibles. And I got it because I wanted to compare the original version to the 1917 revision. And then the new Schofield was done in 1967. And I recommend, by the way, the old Schofield, which if you buy one today, we'll be happy to sell you one, and you're going to get the 1917 version. But in that 1909 version, there are several notes. It says, John's anniversary is, and just not a family tree, but a few notes. Now, they don't mean anything to me because I don't know any of those people. But sometimes you can look at these and go to, one of the genealogy sites and put some information in or find some of these people and say, hey, I got some added information that you may not know. So genealogical records may be valuable in there. Then I would ask a third question, and that is it older than 1850? And the reason I ask that question is because prior to about 1850, those Bibles tend to be worth something. Honestly, if it's newer than 1850, it probably is not worth much at all. You can check this, but if you find the publisher and the year and you check it out, you're probably going to find it's worth 30 or 40 or 50 bucks, maybe at best, and it may be worth $2 or $3. And even if you can find it worth $30 or $40, it's probably going to be very hard to actually find a buyer for it, one who wants it. But again, if it's a 1909 Schofield, perhaps there's a little bit of use for it. So typically older than 1850 is going to be of more value. And then I would say, okay, well, now you might find no family member wants it, doesn't have any names or anything that is valuable. It doesn't appear to have any monetary value, even though it may be old. There are just so many of them out there, so many old Bibles because nobody ever threw them away. What do we do with it now? I do think that the proper thing to do is either burn it or bury it. And the reason that is proper is because you are showing that, yeah, I've got something that needs to be discarded, but I am going to discard it in such a way that I'm not just dumping it in the trash. I am giving it a respect even in the destroying of it. And so that would be my recommendation, would be to either bury it or burn it, and to treat it with respect. Now, if you've ever thrown away a Bible, don't worry about this, because there is no 11th commandment for the church, thou shalt not throw away a Bible. The truth is that it's paper and maybe leather or whatever it's covered with, and that the Word of God is not damaged in any way because you got rid of a paper Bible. The fact of the matter is, somewhere along the way, you just have to do it. But I just think it is a note of respect. I remember my grandfather teaching us cousins a lesson one day. We were at his home in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and he, in the summertime, had an old picnic table, and it needed to be painted. And we grandkids said, hey, we'll paint that, and we'd like to paint an American flag over the top of it. Very patriotic of us, wasn't it? He said, no, you can't do that. And we said, why not? He said, because out of respect for the flag, there's nothing you could set on top of it except a Bible, and you can't set anything on top of a Bible. So there was a respect for the flag and for the Bible. He said we wouldn't be able to use the picnic table if you did that, so you're going to have to paint it something else. And for years after that, I would never set anything on top of the Bible. If there was anything on top of the Bible, I would quickly go and move that off as a matter of respect. Now, it's not a matter of bibliolatry, I believe it is, worship of the Bible. Some people say we learn from the Word of God, we respect the Word of God, and an old poem says, though the cover is worn and the pages are torn and though places bear traces of tears, yet more precious than gold is this book worn and old. It can shatter and scatter my fears. So, Brenda and Kaufman, I appreciate that question. I would encourage you to burn it or bury it if you find that it doesn't have any value.